You're listening to the My Simplified Life podcast, and this is episode number 302. Welcome to the My Simplified Life podcast, a place where you will learn that your past and even your present don't define your future. Regardless of what stage of life you're in, I want you to feel inspired and encouraged to pursue your dreams, simplify your life, and start taking action. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, author of How to Get On Podcasts, the podcast matchmaker, and CEO and founder of the MLG Collective. I'm excited to share the stories and life lessons of changemakers and authors with you while taking you on my own journey. This is My Simplified Life. Hey friends, welcome back to another episode. I'm your host, Michelle Glogovac, and today I have my dear friend from London, Jennifer Cox, who is a psychotherapist and the author of Women Are Mad. She was here in my house last month where we had book club to discuss her book, and I had to ask her to come on the show so that you all could benefit from hearing about her book, about why women are mad, and how we try to be less mad. It is an incredible read, and Jennifer is such an amazing human being. You are going to love our conversation. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi, Michelle.
I'm so thrilled to get to talk to you again, although you're not here in my kitchen, so I'm missing you.
Yeah, I miss you. I miss you from all the way over in the UK.
Just in case anyone couldn't, know that you were from the UK by your accent. Can you introduce yourself to everyone, please?
Yes, my name is Jennifer Cox. I am a psychotherapist and author of the book Women Are Angry, which has just dropped in the USA as well.
And it's amazing. I've read it. It was our book club pick last month, which is why you were in my kitchen. And we didn't record in the kitchen, so we had to wait until you're back home. And here we are. Because women are angry.
Oh, it turns out they really are. Yeah. And none more so than in the US, I have to say. Yeah, it's the angriest I've met so far.
And yet I wish that more of us were angry.
It was funny, actually. I think I really noticed the kind of cultural differences between, like, more than I ever have, between UK and US this time. And do you know what? It was surprising because what I would imagine, like, you know how repressed we are meant to be over here. And I thought when I came over to California that I would basically be met with, women who could not control their rage, because frankly, that's how I would feel if I was where you are right now. But there was something very contained. I would actually say traumatized and kind of in shock. I think it's a kind of clinical shock that I met with that I wasn't expecting to. Whereas in the UK, it had been very much kind of like teeth gnashing and, so many tears at every event. Here, it was like rabbit in headlights, honestly.
How interesting. And
Yeah.
I do see in shock because we're being thrown so many things every single day, especially as you were here last month. It's been nonstop drinking from a fire hose of, oh my God, what now? What's this alert say? What executive order has been signed? What is going on now? It's constant chaos. I think it's coordinated chaos. And you're like, let me look left. Oh, let me look right. And there's whiplash. And you're constantly you're alert and you're high on, how does this affect me? How does this affect my children? How does this affect my neighbor? It is nonstop. And I've never been dealt with this in my lifetime.
It's totally, no, there is no precedence, is there? I think what I was really stunned by as well, when I came over to you, and especially that morning in your house, actually, I think there'd been about 3 pieces of kind of major news, including the Smithsonian executive orders. And none of it reached the UK. Okay, it did reach the UK kind of eventually in a dilute form, but there is definitely something about the impact and that kind of the speed, as you say, at which everything is landing, that I think unless you're there in the US, it's really impossible to describe. And so when I came back and tried to describe it, I couldn't I felt I wasn't conveying accurately that sense of, as you say, whiplash, I think is the right word for it. It's like, look left, look right, look right, oh my God. And then over there, and there's a smoke screen and you haven't seen what's going on over there. And there was like something so utterly jarring, and like you couldn't find your feet after each one. And that's the quality I couldn't really sufficiently capture to people back home.
Mm-hmm.
I did try to. I've written it up in a Substack piece, which is on our Women Are Mad Substack if anyone is interested. But when it's frustrating because you can't quite like absolutely obtain that quality of something, of the feel of something. But I had to try and process it. I mean, I had terrible jet lag when I was over there. I didn't quite click into the right time zone at any point, and I think that didn't help. But actually it also meant that everything had this kind of hyper real quality, where this sense of it being kind of dreamlike and, well, nightmare like and surreal was really like, brimming. And so I'd kind of wake up at 3 or 4 a.m. in whatever hotel room and just start kind of pounding onto the laptop because I didn't know what else to do with everything I was hearing and feeling.
Yeah, it makes it hard to prioritize it too when there's so many things. Just yesterday, literally at the same time, we're talking about defunding NPR and PBS. And, PBS, Mr. Rogers, that kind of a thing. But then within an hour, we're learning that there was a huge data breach and it was, Starlink and Elon's fault. And all of this top secret stuff is going to adversaries. And so then it's, well, what do you focus on?
Right.
How do you prioritize? Because everything is important. These are important pieces, and you've got the whiplash, and now you're going, okay, well, what do I talk about first? And then how do you bring in the other stuff? And then we've got women going to space, quote unquote.
Oh,
And
come on. I know.
you know, I'm
There's a
smiling, and
genius
yet
to it,
it's
isn't there?
ridiculous.
It's like
Yes.
when you say coordinated chaos, I think that is absolutely right. It feels anarchic. It feels like pull this, cut that, slay this, squash that. And it's like whack-a-mole. Like, yeah, wherever you look, there is something happening and you cannot possibly capture all of it. And yeah, how incredibly clever that is, if indeed it is all orchestrated to seem this way. But I have to say, like, with this volume, with this sheer volume, you can't help but deduce it is orchestrated, it is choreographed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we're dealing with some total nut jobs, but somebody's orchestrating all of it.
It's
And
efficient.
yes, and I think there's the shock value, and then of course we see that I'm going to do this. Oh, you don't like it? Okay, well then we won't do that. Like tariffs. Um, and so there's that reaction factor as well. Of I saw there was a comparison the other day of like if a firefighter were to set your house on fire and then come and save you from the fire and be like, look what I did. I saved you, but you started the fire. So I wouldn't have been in danger if you hadn't done the first part. That's exactly what we're all experiencing.
Yeah.
And, he wants to be a savior and have that mentality. And yet he's the one who is putting us in a position where we need to be rescued.
That was for the last time he was in. He was the narcissist. I don't quite know where we've gone now. Like, this is like another league.
Yeah. But then how do we as women who are angry deal with all of this anger?
Question. Well, this is a really good question, actually, Michelle, because I mean, when you think about what my book is concerned with, it's obviously that kind of first layer, or maybe first two layers of gaslight, where the thing is happening to us, which we're not allowed to recognize. And if we do recognize it, we're punished for it. So that's already the kind of thesis of the book. But what happens when you kind of throw that into are we calling it a dictatorship? I don't know what we're calling it yet.
Yeah.
Autocracy,
Yeah, yeah.
despotic.
He
I don't
wants
know
to be
what.
a dictator. Yes.
Okay. So it's sort of It's really interesting because um, one of the events that I did in California was with a group of women that we were meant to steer clear of politics, like as in kind of politics, proper party politics. Um, and I'm just gonna, I'd be really like diplomatic now and I won't say anything more about that. But you know, you try and get me off politics. My book is ostensibly a lovely kind of cozy self-help book. It won Time Self-Help Book of the Year, as you know. So officially that's what it is, a nice psychotherapist talking you through how to release your rage, ladies. um get it out of your bodies, you know, stop it kind of causing the problems that it's been doing our whole lives. But as we all know, anyone who's read past the first kind of page, actually it's political. It's a deeply political book about oppression and, you know, well, systemic oppression and what we need to do about this at a kind of larger level. So institutions of education, organizational institutions, workplace, but also the home, family, you know, that institution. um and I so at this event where I was being kind of disallowed from talking about, you know, what was going on at this moment in time in the States, um we actually ended up having a deeply, deeply political conversation. And we didn't need to go anywhere near Trump because there was so much else to say that I think, you know, he's a symptom, he's the end of a spectrum, but we've all been drowning in this shit for years.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess this is what happens when it surfaces. And in the UK at the moment, it's all still pretty covert. But I think there's a lot of sleepwalking, and what I kind of came back from my trip with a real kind of a sense of um, conviction about was we cannot keep this kind of sleepwalking state sustained. It's dangerous, and we need to be paranoid, and we need to be angry, and we need to keep our eyes peeled because this that's happening over with you guys, we ain't so far from ourselves. We don't have the same kind of religious right pressure on our governments
Mm-hmm.
and our kind of school systems, but people think that abortion is legal over here, like in England, in the UK, and it's not. It's actually it's a criminal act. It's an act of crime against the body, and you need a two-doctor sign off for it. So you have to wait to get that before you can go ahead and have a termination. Um, you know, there are still protesters outside clinics, even though there are meant to be safe corridors. Like this, that's just, you know, one example of how it's assumed that we're in a really different place, and we're not, in terms of our body rights, and in terms of, certainly in terms of, you know, what we're paid. We are very, very far from anything like equality over here, and yet we behave as if we've done it, we've achieved. And then we wonder why we're suffering endlessly with our migraines, with our stomach issues, with, you know, our cancer, because this stuff has to go somewhere. We are feeling it, and we're feeling it in our bodies because, you know, when it isn't on the surface, and when we're encouraged to kind of look away and focus on other stuff, like, you know, lunch boxes and PE kits, then then we take our eye off the ball, and we take our eye away from where it should be.
Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting that you can't talk politics, but everything is political. As I've been on this journey in the past year, books are political. The fact that you can say what you want, that's political. Schools are
Hmm.
political. A woman's right is political. Religion is everything.
People are
Yeah,
politics. Yeah.
everything that goes on. The fact that I live in a home and pay property taxes is political. I drive down the street that my taxes fix. That's political. Stopping, like
Mm,
everything is political. And yet at the same time, I keep preaching that what I'm talking about is it's not politics, because I'm not talking about two parties. I'm talking about the shit show that is going on. I'm talking about how we're
mm,
treating other human beings,
mhm.
because we have far surpassed this, let's be, financially fiscal and let's save money here. That's not even on the table. Nobody
No.
even cares about that part, because everything is, well, let's get rid of every immigrant.
Mm.
That's what we're looking at right now. Who's here illegally, who's here actually legally, and let's get rid of them too.
Make America white again. This is yeah.
Yes, the
Hmm.
Mawa,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Mawa.
Mawa. Mm.
Yeah. And so it's funny. It's very tongue in cheek of like, let's not talk politics, even though everything is. And yet I'm not going to be political, because this isn't true politics, what we're talking about.
Yeah,
And I think that's why you ended up having a very political
I
discussion
think
for
it
a
is.
non-political
Do you know what, as
evening.
well? I don't know whether you have found this, like growing up as a woman, but it's a bit like how women aren't allowed to be funny over here. We're also not allowed to talk about politics. It's just, we don't do it. It's not the done thing,
Hmm.
even now, like even in this day and age. And I think there's been a very fast awakening, actually. Like, what I really noticed with Women Are Mad is we've grown, like, I don't know how many 100% in that we've only been doing it 18 months. And it's like, I'd say, especially in the last 6 months, particularly the last two, it's kind of gone exponential. And I think women are waking up, actually. Um, and I guess I do take some pride in my book being a part of that, certainly over here, because it slips in under the radar. It's pink. It doesn't say anything about politics on it. And yet, as you say, it's kind of deeply political and it can't help it. And
Hmm.
so the conversations that it has begun are therefore really empowering ones about our agency, our autonomy, I guess, particularly our body autonomy. But our body autonomy, not just in the sense of, what happens to it when we are pregnant, or don't want to be pregnant, or when there's an issue with our pregnancy, or whatever it is, but also body autonomy in the sense of, illness, and just where we're keeping the tension in our bodies about everything, that's going on in our lives. And when you compare rates of, autoimmune disease with that of men, and you see the huge disparities, you think women are being oppressed at level of body in these ways that we don't talk about, in the news, but we women know all too well. Because I think everyone we know, probably ourselves included, have at least one, like, major health, I don't know about condition, but like issue that we grapple with,
Hmm.
weekly, sometimes daily, and we just handle it, and we just shed loads of painkillers, or we, go and get ourselves massages as much as we can afford to, or we make sure that we walk a lot because, our hip gets really bad if we don't, or, whatever it is, it's, we shut up about it and we crack on. But the world that we're living in is encroaching, and it's doing it in these very subtle, insidious ways that we don't bother even to talk about.
Keep preaching.
Mm.
And
Don't
we
you
need to talk
worry, I
about it.
will be.
I think that talking about it is exactly what we need to do. It was so refreshing to have you come all the way from London, to have all of these women in my kitchen. Most of them were strangers. I didn't,
Oh,
three I had met before.
oh my God, but it was such a great atmosphere. I figured you were all pals.
Some of them knew each other, but there were some I knew from being online, but we had never met in person. Others
Oh,
were brought by a friend. So no, there were only three that I knew in person, real life,
yeah.
not just online life. Yeah, but
Wow.
they all were wanting to read the book and to meet
Yeah.
you and to have this conversation because we haven't been having these conversations. And I think also the fact that it was in person, COVID had hit and I don't think we've recovered from
No.
being at home. I mean, I'm a homebody. I love it at home. I'm like, oh wait, do we have to go somewhere tonight? I don't want to go. I
Yeah.
just want to put my sweats on. And so of course it's also easier for me to go, why don't y'all come to my house?
Yes. Yes. But they wanted it. I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? I think there is a kind of desperation. I think COVID hit women, like from what I saw in clinic, far worse than men because so many of our support networks are, out there and we needed to kind of try to access them and we couldn't. It was a
Hmm.
terribly lonely time.
Yeah. Yeah. And we started COVID kindergarten. So
Oh my
I thought that I'd
God.
have two kids out of the house. Instead, I had remote learning for one, and then another one who's like, what about me? I did online workouts multiple times a week with a group of women that I'd never met before. And I had two kids doing burpees with me. So that was how we survived. And we would walk for miles around the neighborhood.
Yeah,
Miles.
walking became a real thing. I think walking is the one thing that's stuck that feels to me like a really kind of healthy legacy, actually. Like going for a walk, meeting a friend for a walk. That didn't used to happen for me, and it does now.
Yeah, my walks have slowed down because I'm like, oh, I have the house alone again. I'll
Yeah,
take
yeah, that's
that.
true. You've got to
But it's been a
maximize
number
your.
of years, so maybe I should stop using that excuse. So you've mentioned how the UK is different than the US. How has has the reaction to the book been different overall?
I think so. The paperback's about to come out in the UK, so I'm kind of gearing up for that, like next round. Um, it's funny because the world I mean, it's a very different place now than it was in July when it originally landed in the UK. And what I feel is a depletion in women over here, actually, like a sort of feeling of, oh God, do I have to keep going? Like there was this sort of jubilation that when the book landed in the summer, that I felt like it kind of caught this like flame, this little flame that had been lit. um I'm not sure even by what was going on at that point, like what kind of little sparks of hope. I guess a Labour government actually in the UK. Like we had that change of, so we've got allegedly socialist government now. I'm not sure people are particularly convinced by, that definition anymore. But certainly there was a sense of hope. And because we're so tied emotionally to the US, so tied. And I don't know if it's possible for you to know how much we are. Like it's like looking up to an older sibling. Like
Mm.
we hero worship you guys, and we look to you to set that kind of cultural gold standard. And I think something kind of broke in us a little bit when Trump got in
We are a
again.
big fat disappointment to y'all right
I
now.
know. And I'm really, really sorry to say it. And I guess I never thought that then I'd be coming over to the US as this kind of like envoy of hope. Like flying from a distant land who is doing better right now. Because, over here we've got cost of living crisis, the NHS, our beautiful NHS that you probably look at and go, oh my God, that is, the dream, is in tatters. It's been completely abused for, decades, not fed, not nourished, and it's in tatters. And so to kind of come over to a place that feels even more desperate, and for kind of, not obvious reasons, when you kind of come across from home to home, that's not what you're seeing. But for me, it was what I was hearing, it was what I was feeling, and that was really sad and really shocking. And as I say, this kind of bit of me that like needs America to be on track and kind of setting the, bar. I kind of came back feeling quite unmoored and scared.
That's disappointing. And yet I understand so completely as I sit here in it going, I am so disappointed. I am sad. I am angry. I'm all of the feelings. And then you plaster a smile on your face because we are women and we have children. And
you've got a lot of people to take care of.
Yeah. And so the cycle just continues.
Yeah, there we go. I'm interested, though, at a kind of personal level, like, do you feel, if we're thinking about where we keep this stuff in our bodies, which I think as women we really, really like exclusively do, how have you been carrying everything that's going on, like at this macro, micro level?
So I can't remember if I shared with you or not, but years ago I had a pulmonary embolism. And
No,
I landed in the hospital. It was just 2 days after my 41st birthday. And ever since then, if I am too stressed, I feel symptom pain in my back. And it was the first year I was very stressed out about, am I having another one? Because we didn't know really what caused it. We think it was too many hormones. And so because I had leg pain and then an OBGYN, because mine was out of the office. She said, I think it's estrogen running up and down your legs. So let's put you on the pill. And so I did that. And then literally 6 months almost to the day, I had a pulmonary embolism. And so I have found through therapy and my pulmonologist that it's phantom pain, and it is my body letting me know you're stressing out. You need to now pay attention. Down. What is it? And so I have had some, and I've recognized, okay, it's okay to put the phone away. Like, don't look at the news. This is why I now have the journal in the morning, Jimmy Carter, and, meditating, and then, a book. And so to do that and to start my day with that intentionality has helped me, because I am carrying it in my back. That is where it is.
Wow. So that's a kind of muscular pain that you have read in a kind of panic
It's
state.
Not even muscular. It's like a deep stabbing pain. No, it's not a sore muscle. No, it's like it is a shooting pain. Yeah.
Ooh,
but the moment I take a breath and I go, okay, what is it? I recognize it. Like, I don't have blood clots. You are fine. You are healthy. What are you stressing out over? Then the pain subsides. And it's really just in recognizing it and reminding myself, you got to go somewhere else, mentally. And
I do think, the phones are a disaster for that, aren't they? Because, I'd never been on social media before the Women Are Mad kind of project. So, as I say, kind of 18 months, max 2 years now. And I was so much healthier psychologically before I joined Instagram. I really limit it because I think it's brilliant for these for what we're trying to do. It's brilliant, and thank God for it. But I think just the way it snares our neurology and kind of pulls it into, the precise, like, dopamine experience that it metes out so brilliantly. I think that's absolute poison, and we do need to be extremely careful.
Yeah, I have to turn the notifications off. And
Yes,
I did
same.
that a while ago because
Yeah. It
and
makes a
now it's
big difference. Yeah.
now that I'm like Pete Hegseth and I have Signal, I have to turn those notifications off. And so I'll mute them for so many hours, like especially during nighttime, because there's certain chats that are East Coast time. And
Oh, wow.
like this morning, my alarm went off at 5:30, and all of a sudden the phone's going, and my husband goes, "What is that?" And I go, it's just Signal alerts. Something's probably happening with the president again."
I mean, you guys in that conversation at your house, because I'd been hearing about the whole kind of Signal conversations,
Yeah.
and how, in fact, someone over here had advised I go on Signal. I think I told you this, and I was like, "What Signal?"
Yeah.
And we were kind of looking into it. Do you remember? And say, who
Mhm.
is the originator of Signal? And then we
Yeah.
discovered, it was like X. What's he
Yes.
called? Yeah,
Yeah.
one of the bros of
Yes.
the
One of
originals, the OGs. But I guess everyone starts somewhere, and we can't hold that against him. I don't know. Can we?
well, it was Twitter at the time. It wasn't X. So I'll give him that much. It was before it became a dumpster
X.
fire. Yeah. I mean, it was mean, but it wasn't like it is today. So we'll give him that much credit.
Is it true that all missives now from the White House are going to go through X? Like, that's the only news platform that they will be piping out through?
They said that Social Security is supposed to be using it. That was this week. Trump uses Truth Social. That's his own platform. I don't go on it. No, I don't need another one, and nor am I going to subscribe to one that he endorses. And I'm really not on X. Like I might open it and look at it, but
Mm,
I kind of ignore it.
mm.
Um,
Yeah, that's
yeah. So
best.
there a lot of the stuff that they post is on X, the White House especially,
Mm.
but they will even post like the meanest things. They want to deport you, and if you come here illegally, we will hunt you down and we will kill you. Like it's really nasty, mean things. So even when you think you're like, no, this is a joke, this is a government account. They didn't. Oh, though they do, and they
Have
did.
you seen Idiocracy, the film, the quite
No.
old film with what's he called? Something Wilson. It's not Owen Wilson. Luke Wilson, I
Okay.
think. It's brilliant. I mean, it's horrendous because it is exactly what we're seeing. Well, no, what we're seeing now is Gilead and Handmaid's Tale, but there is so many lashings of idiocracy about it as well. I don't know whether to recommend these things at the moment because it's like, why does anyone need to expose ones, even like in jest? I'm not sure it's very
I
healthy.
just find it fascinating that there are so many things that really foretold what
Oh,
we're
there you
experiencing,
go. Yeah.
and and that we watched it, read it, did whatever, and we're like, that's never gonna wait. What? It's
I
happening.
know. We enjoyed
How
it
did
at
you
the
know it
time.
was gonna happen? It's like The Simpsons, and
Oh my
how they
God.
foretold so much. So yeah,
Yeah. I guess this is it, isn't it? The humans are pretty predictable when it comes to it, and pendulums swing. And I guess we went in this direction, apparently too far. And now this is the overcorrection. But I guess history, what's the word? Presages it. Like, yeah, it's the foretelling.
super.
And on that note,
You're just a pleasure. I'm so glad that we got to become friends and
oh,
meet in person.
brilliant.
And yeah, you're incredible and amazing. And everyone needs to read your book and follow you and listen to your podcast.
And likewise, it has been such a joy, and everyone needs to tune in to Michelle
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you.
forthwith.
Can you share with everyone where they can follow you quickly?
Yes,
I'll put it
so
in the show notes, but just so they hear it too.
I'm on Jennifer Cox, psychotherapist, for Instagram, and at Women Are Mad at Instagram also. And it's the Women Are Mad podcast.
Love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, ladies, are we mad? Obviously. So pick up a copy of Women Are Mad and read about how we are taking it into our bodies, what we can do about it, and let's continue to build community, to build relationships with one another, to talk about it, to allow ourselves to be angry, to be mad, to feel all the feelings, and to recognize them in one another, because we're all going through this right now and always, as women, as moms, as human beings. And there is something we can do about it. And we need to recognize how it affects us so that way we aren't physically being brought down by it, but also allow yourself to be mad. It is okay to be mad. Go grab Jennifer's book, go follow her, and listen to her podcast as well.